Don't say anything, anyone, that might be caught on camera. Morning all, thanks for coming. Would you mind being upstanding? Thank you. And bring your hands together at the heart center. And feet together if possible, or close otherwise. And breathing through your nose if you can. Moving your feet if you find it useful, in terms of softening and gathering. So softening from attachments to whatever. Now, attachments are different from phenomena. Phenomena are all allowed. So everything that happens in your life happens in your life. It's real and it happens and it goes in the nerves and there are responses. If someone trips over, it's a shock. If it's someone's birthday and they get a surprise cake, it's lovely. Actions have consequences. And that's lovely and normal. So non-attachment or loosening off, that doesn't mean not experiencing, not having any phenomena. It means not attaching the ahamkara or the mamankara. That is to say, ahamkara means I am maker. And mamankara, mamankara means mine maker. So if you don't make it mine, you realize it's a product of everything. That's all. It's all. So in fact, what it actually says is experience everything just as it is, open up to it without making it mine or I am happy, I am sad, I am whatever. You can say the sentence, I am happy. It's just that feeling of complete identity with it. And the way, of course, to mitigate this kind of identity is vidya, seeing. See where sensations arise from. Observe how long they're sustained. Observe their passing away. Hey, Tanya. Morning. Interlace your fingers to their roots. Stretch your arms diagonally down. Raise the arms up on this joyfully beautiful morning here in Brightonian. Suck in the tummy, draw everything together. So as you raise your arms up with your fingers interlaced, it's a meditation on gathering, because often we're split or divided between a few things. It would be fine if we were divided between literally everything in the universe, but we've got a few select things at any given time and they arise and pass. So we're drawing everything in to this upflow, which means we're bringing everything together. And as everything comes together, it comes to one point of focus. And that point of focus is like a black hole in a good way, a singularity, in that it gathers, but it also delivers. You go through it. Okay, big circle if you're ready. Hands to the heart center. Breathe through your nose if you can. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Become sensitive to the pelvic floor, the living experience of the pelvic floor. Of course, as soon as the ahamkara comes in, I am, whatever sensations are there, or it's mine, then the whole paradigm breaks down because it gets filled with karmic disposition. So I'm not sure if the phrase karmic disposition makes sense to anyone. Conditioned tendencies, biased views, habituated drives. And we're going to raise up our right heel and feel into the left leg in any way that we want and enter the right leg too. And when we're ready, we're going to raise up And perhaps take hold of the shin to draw the leg high, or simply place the heel on the ankle or cup the knee. And there's a real sense of study, but not in the conventional sense, poring over something to acquire and accumulate knowledge, but instead a study to disappear through the sensation. So, study into the richness in the present moment, the livingness. So that includes movement, but it also includes bringing together. So bringing together the various fibers of your standing leg to make the standing leg become truly strong. Not just the sort of, on rather than off. It's truly strong where everything's gathered together. It takes time, takes honesty, takes kindness. Calmly release your hands, calmly place your foot. Take a great big deep stonking breath in and out. Shake if you want, any way that you want. It's actually sort of beyond thinking. It's just natural. You trust the natural, the spontaneous. When ready for the other leg, obviously that comes up. We tune in on what will be the standing leg in any way that works. So movement helps me to tune in because it becomes a sort of feedback. It's like a conversation. You tune in on somebody by having a conversation. You don't tune in on them by having a monologue. So when you're ready, foot comes up. It can be on the ankle, the knee, or higher as you like. And the hands in the prayer position. And then this study, which is a sort of study is not even really quite the right word. It's sort of, I've translated it in the past as fascination. Where you're so fascinated, enamored by something that there's a sense in which you want to become it, or it to become you in some sense, to merge with it, to sympathize to the extent that there's no gap anymore. I always think of David Attenborough watching some little row of ants, with the camera shot, his face is near the ants, not too near, but near enough to make an interesting camera shot. And he's chatting away about the ants, and he's absolutely fascinated. There's a sense in which, he wants to merge with to sympathize to a profound extent. So toning and retoning is part of fascination. It's very, very honest. Therefore, it's very, very loving. It doesn't need things to be different to how they are. We don't need to make anything mine. Okay, release and place and shake off a little bit. We're going to take the feet hip width apart and spread out the toes. The feet should be lined up so that the toes aren't turning out or in, but the imaginary line goes through the gap between the second and third toe. And then we simply raise up with toning the tummy. Again, doesn't matter how the body is. That's one wonderful thing about yoga. It doesn't have to be, in a sort of state of high level of fitness or something. The body simply needs to be as it is, and then we listen. There's this lovely listening, and then, merging. It's like a dance in that sense. We know that sometimes the sort of patron saint of yoga is sometimes viewed as Shiva, who is, depends which Shiva you're talking about. In the Puranas, he can be a little bit grumpy and childish, but in other texts, Shiva is a dancer. So that sense of dance of reality, and he represents all of reality as his form as the Nataraja, the dancer. Inhale, come up, exhale, fold, 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 fold. Hands flat means probably bending the knees for nearly everybody, but maybe not everybody, but nearly all of us. And then breathing easy. You can massage out the back or hamstrings or both through movements, whether they be, for example, pedaling the heels, lifting them up and down, or moving the torso, or a combination thereof, or something different. But you can loosen the breath forward/back. It is all about awakeness. So awakeness, meaning that our behaviors are not driven by karma, by conditioned tendencies. We're open to, we observe conditioned tendencies. We're not driven by them. We allow conditioned tendencies. There's nothing to be done about them. That's the way reality is. But we don't feel to make them in mine. They're co-created. Arjun Sumedho once said that if you don't want to be affected by karma, karma needs a person to stick to. So if there's no person, there's no karma. It's just kind of lost. It's like, oh, right, moves on. Tries to find somewhere where it can find a person to stick to. So the dissolution of the person is a dissolution of the idea of separation that's done through opening up to all this richness now. And we're going to bend the knees, or bend them more if they're bent already, until the ribs touch the thighs. Really get yourself established, soften your back. You might bounce the pelvis or bounce the back or whatever you find useful. And we're going to raise the arms up behind us as if skiing. And then arms come forwards and up. Keep the knees bent and allow for movement such as up and down, subtle movement, left and right, subtle movement. Breathe through your nose. Make sure everything's relaxed and soft. And then inhaling to come up with strong, that means intelligent and integrated legs, and through to the hips with the hands and shake off. Breathe deep, breathe natural. Walk your feet towards each other and raise your right heel and cross your right leg over the left leg. Bending down and reaching down. I realize I haven't mirrored that. I know. I thought it'd make you cross, Ali. Coming down, breathing through the nose. So most of us hears loads. It's like, and what yogis need is enough. What we don't need is too much, just enough. It may be for some people the pose goes lower, that's fine too. It's all about the breath, it's about meditation here and now. About not holding the breath. Then calmly, slowly coming up, placing, breathing, shaking the energy down to the feet so you can feel it down in your feet, not holding a breath, letting that go. Just loose, any kind of looseness. The important thing is just not to think about it. We're friends, we're just relaxed, we're natural, we're happy, we're not trying to fit into any boxes of any kind. Let's lift up the other heel, and when ready, cross that leg over the other. And then bending the knee. It's kind of exciting. So you kind of get into the whoa element of it. And it doesn't matter how low you go in the posture. What matters is that you've got enough, you've got the raw material that you need to turn into release. So release from what? Habituated tendencies stored in the nervous system. What is enough? Anything that challenges, anything where you feel a stretch or a rich sensation, which is stepping stone number one. And then stepping stone number two is to give to that sensation via the breath. And of course, for the breath to flow, the body has to have the freedom to go with the breath's needs as well. You're breathing into it. Okay, calmly coming up. You got a slippery leg. You got a slippery leg. Coming all the way up. Breathing easy. Jaw soft. Shake it off. Now you might need a patika because we're going to, we've got strap because we're going to do that. We're going to hold one hand with the other wrist. So if you know you need a patika, then you can get a patika. Oh, you've got two patika. Yeah, you can borrow a patika. One hand up, one hand down, as it were. One elbow up, one elbow down. Breathing through your nose. Head in line with the spine. So breath is first. And the body moves in any way that assists the breath to respond naturally. So we sometimes talk about it being like a dandelion seed, which when I was meditating yesterday, a dandelion seed happened to land right in front of me. I thought, oh, isn't that nice? And then I promptly cleared it out into the neighbour's garden because we've got enough dandelions in the bloody garden. Anyway, for a moment I thought, isn't that nice? Because that sort of lightness, to respond to the way things are, that's how we respond to the way things are, through lightness, not through being heavy with personhood. So, it's always good to remember things like the Buddha used to moan about his bad back. Sometimes we might think enlightenment is just like the Buddha's always in a good mood, he's sort of whistling as he walks down. It's kind of a bit annoying, that version of the Buddha would be. Always chirpy. Morning, Buddha. Hey, how you doing? I'm all right. You're always all right. But no, the Buddha complained about the monks being noisy. He complained about his bad back later in life. But the point was, well, he didn't so much complain as just pointed out. So he's just saying the way it is, but not attaching to it. That's all. It's not that, it's not that phenomena don't arise of all different colors or different shapes and sizes, as it were. Okay, slow and easy release when you're ready. Don't rush it. Let's have a deep breath, or two or three. And any movement that's natural could be as slow and sassy, could be more dynamic. And then when ready, other arm comes up the back. It seems a shame to waste those H's, doesn't it? Look for love and Okay, release calmly, calmly, calmly. Breathe through your nose, shake off if you want to. And we're going to hold our elbows or bring our hands into Paschima Namaskara. So holding your elbows, simple like that. Paschima Namaskara. I like a little swing at it usually. And then if you come into Paschima Namaskara, use your spinous processes, that is the bony prominences of the back, to work your chest muscle tissue. You can see how many times I'm doing that. If I'm really honest, it takes a beautifully long amount of time, longer even than I'm doing that. And then we step the feet apart. Breathe through the nose. I wouldn't want it as a tagline for the school, but discover the pelvic floor is something here and now applicable. And so what does it mean? Pelvic floor, of course, is a series of muscles between the pubic bone and the tailbone. And to wake up to the sensations, you might need to move to really honestly feel the living sensations of the pelvic floor beyond any sort of my pelvic floor, which can lead to whatever, is it right? Is it wrong? What do I do about it? All of those motives are coming from karma, that is to say, from conditioning in the nervous system. So we have to go beyond. We have to tune in on the pelvic floor, beyond anything at all. Okay, turn your back toes in and front foot and leg out. Whole body's turning around that way towards beautiful, brighten. Whole body turns. So walk your front foot further across the width of the mat. Your back heel is lifted. The other further across, Tanya, the other direction. Yeah, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Yes, and then turn your whole body. So lift the back heel up and turn it out. Make sure you're wide enough across the width of the mat. Anything from heel to heel to hip width, not heel to arch, ever. Now, some poses we say never heel to heel, and some poses we say never heel to arch. So these are the poses we say never heel to arch. And I'm sure we'll do one of them where we say never heel to heel in a minute. Stretch up from your inner groin of your back leg. So lift up. Exhaling, coming down. So hinge from your hip joints. Hinge from your hip joints. So going wider can really help with balance, but it also can provide space, wider, not longer, wider across the width of the mat, like a swimming pool has a width and a length. So we're talking about the width here. Yeah. Makes room for the sacrum as well, releases the tail. Beautiful. Lead with the bottom of the breastbone, turning, turning, turning the whole body round towards the other side of the room, walking your foot across the front foot, across the width of the mat, lifting the back heel, externally rotating it, and then bringing it down again. Bring your back ribs round, your right ribs round. The back ribs round, the ones that correlate to your back leg. Bring those forwards. With a little tone in the tongue and a released neck, lift up from your inner groin on an inhalation. So on an inhale, lift up. Exhale, extend forwards, let your back leg release back behind you. It's useful to send currents up through the front thigh, currents like you get a current in a river. You do that repeatedly, currents that eventually pick up various fibers. So the kneecap over time is lifted on the front leg by these currents. Lead with the bottom of your breastbone to come up. Turn back to the front. Walk your feet towards each other, and with some relief perhaps, slowly release your arms. Keep the feet hip width apart for Kayotsaga. Kaya meaning body, Utsaga meaning to eject, like an ejector seat, but we're not actually ejecting the body or ejecting anything from the body, but really I'm just repurposing that phrase to mean ejecting the concept of the body as a thing and experience the body as it really is, which is like this. So anything you try and sort of squeeze it into, it will not be the way it is, because the body is connected. Every part of the body is connected to every part of the body is connected to the breath's connected to the mind's connected to the world around us, we're connected to gravity, to photons, to electromagnetic fields, and on and on. Raise your arms up. Breathe through your nose if you can. Release the roots of your neck. Meditate, however it is. It's like this is the way it is. And so you meditate on that, and that's your freedom, because the way it is it's not independent. That's not a thought. If it's a thought, then that's not it. It won't liberate. Thoughts don't liberate, But direct knowledge, like vision, you could call it. That's what liberates, direct knowledge or vision. Okay, we're going to forward fold again from the hip joints. Again, we're going to bring our hands flat. Again, this almost certainly means, for the majority of us, bending the knees. Don't hold the breath. Respond to the way it is. Some people, as I mentioned before, might pedal the heels. In other words, lifting and landing intuitively, even turning them out or in, or lifting the toes, or bending more, or moving the back. Again, if you think about it, you'll come up with a lot of sort of paradigms that are subject to doubt, which is why people affiliate. They join schools where everyone agrees, no, this is the way to do it. Certain yoga schools are very firm. They're like, those other silly schools, they don't know what we know. This is the right way to do it. And then everyone feels safe because, they only go to those classes with the name of that school, and, everyone in the room agrees. So it's like, okay, great. But then there are the other schools out there that's vaguely threatening on the horizon. What to do about them? So this isn't that kind of knowledge. This is like natural. We're going to place our hands underneath our feet with the palms up. This is actually something that's very, very beneficial for wrist difficulties, if anyone ever gets wrist difficulties. It's also a very useful method of pratyahara. Pratyahara is made of two particles, prati plus ahara. Prati meaning to turn back, and ahara meaning food.
turning back away from food. It doesn't mean, don't have your breakfast. It means turning away from the sort of food that keeps samsara going around. So, ahamkara and mamamkara. Often we sustain ourselves by, I did this. Or this is mine. This is mine. And that keeps the wheel going round. Like, that's just the way it is. So we're not trying to stop that. We're just not attaching to that. The ahamkara and mamankara are always there, but they're not self. So we're not trying to stop it. We're just not attaching to it. So release your hands, bend your knees a little more, give your back a bit of movement if you find it useful. And see if you can go any lower into any kind of squat. And breathe into that. If the heels come up, that's okay. You can use, if you want, you can use a block under each heel or blanket, or just let them come up. Just breathe into it. It's okay to let the toes turn out. There's lots of variations of the squat with the legs wider or narrower. If they're wider, the arms come in between the legs, the hands in prayer, the heel of the hand comes to the breastbone. If they're closer, like mine are here, you can bring the knees into the armpits, like I've got here. Okay, we're going to come out, so bring your hands on the floor behind you and do whatever old people do to come out of yoga poses. And then stretch the legs out, means all of us, in a loving way. If you're no longer 30. Okay, so we're going to, in Dandasana, drawing the buttock flesh out and back, and sitting up tall and light, and breathing through the nose, and shoulders down, and hands by your hips, and eyes soft. So when I first started yoga, fairly early on, I bought what was quite a new book at the time by Silva and Shyam Mehta, who were students of BKS Iyengar since children. Silva Shyam Mehta. And I remember there's a picture with one of them in Tadasana, and it said, soft eyes, or something like that. Like eyes like looking into the distant, soft eyes. And I think that's a lovely detail. So it's soft as in the mind has an openness to it that can actually cope with the living reality here and now. Coping meaning, responding like a dandelion seed. And so this response is possible through letting go of attachments, or the mamamkara and ahamkara. Now I mentioned earlier that the ahamkara, the I make, and the mamamkara are natural, so we're not trying to get rid of them, we're noticing them. I notice all the time the I maker. I did this, I did that, I sometimes, congratulate myself. Sometimes I, scold myself, or praise myself a lot. Look at me. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's normal. We're not trying to do a thing about it. Not making a mine out of the ahamkara, out of the I maker. Just realizing it's part of what we call prakriti. Okay, it's laying on the back time. But it isn't corpse pose.
or anywhere near it. We're going to put our hands behind our heads. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths on this absolutely fabulous, in my correct opinion, morning. And what a fabulous morning. So study is non-violent in that it's not trying to eradicate anything. It's just recognition. And there's nothing complicated. It's just relaxed. There's nothing complicated. So, of course, the mind, you notice the mind looking around for what it should be doing. What should I be doing, though, Jim? What should I not be doing then? Or is it something I shouldn't be doing? Just recognize the eye maker when it arises and see that it's selfless. Who made it? Who makes the eye maker? No one. It just comes, doesn't it? So we're just simply observing, the way it is. The feet come up when we're ready. The head comes up when we're ready. We breathe through the nose. And the impression that this makes into the deep abdominals is a living sensation, or it's living sensations. And those living sensations are too squirmy, too alive to have a chance to sort of label them all. And so we don't. We let them be as they are, changing subtly, rather than trying to hold it all still. When we're ready, we're going to extend one leg out to about 45 degrees and then retract it. And we're going to take it through a journey upwards towards 90 degrees of extension and retraction. But we're going to keep very much a meditative awareness, loving awareness, relaxed awareness of the deep belly all the way until we reach our 90-degree station. And then we're going to walk back down, as it were, extending the different points, again, being deeply aware, relaxed aware of the beautiful richness of now. Prakriti is worshipped as a goddess, by the way, with along with the ahamkara and everything about her. Same on the other leg when we're ready. So this is not about exercise, this is about study of the deep belly, and walking our way up towards 90 degrees, perhaps in 6, 7, 8 stages or more. And then walking our way back down. Similarly, so it's about the belly study, the study of the belly, rather than going through a bunch of exercises. Once you've done that, then you release your head. Then we toe tap. So alternately tapping with the toes on the floor without holding the breath. And as we toe tap, we're going to extend the range, keeping the lower back close to the floor until we can heel tap. And again, this is about the study of the deep belly. So you have to be close to the sensations. We're going to do 4 heel taps on each leg. Mathematicians amongst us will realize that that's 8 in total. And staying, it's beautiful. It's like there's nothing to do about anything. Once you've done the 4, you lift the feet up, you lift the head up, you breathe through your nose, you open the angle at the back of the knees and turn towards me with elbow and knee coming towards each other. And then similarly on the other side, not yanking on the neck. One more time on each side, but with a variation of raising the leg and descending it. Again, studying the deep belly sensations before returning to center and back down. Feet come down on the floor. Take a deep breath with a sigh-like exhale, maybe 2 or 3. So, it's all, whatever clever talk we make around it, it's just relaxation and love into this, because this is liberating. A student asked me the other day, what is it about the now? Why do people always go on about it? What's the big deal with the now? And it's because the now is liberating. It liberates us from clinging tendencies, because the now is nothing. You can't find anything in it to cling to. It's not the concept of non-clinging. That's just a dogma. But there's nothing in the now to cling to. We're going to raise the pelvis with the hands still under the head. So lift your bum, and you can do anything. So you can shake it, you can bounce it, you can tilt it, you can sway it, you can swoop it. And but the point is, it's not what you're doing, but what it's doing for you. So you might lift, you might circle, you might bounce, you might tilt, but we want to loosen the lower back, quadratus lumborum. And then we're just going to float back down like a petal, falling gently down and settling, or petaling. Petal settles. Breathe easy. Release your hands from behind your head. Raise your arms straight up and breathe through your nose if you can. Relax your neck. Jaw soft. Raise up your feet, raise up your legs. Swing your legs if you want. Move your ankles if you want. Bend your knees if you want. It's about flow. It's about not thinking too much about it. It's about enjoyment. But, don't hold the breath. Let everything sort of come to life. And then when we're ready, opposites will move away from each other. That is, opposite arm, opposite leg. But let's try and imagine we're attached by a piece of elastic that recoils. So we're going through a fairly narrow range and then recoiling and going a little longer. But try your best, please, to really imagine that you're actively stretching a piece of elastic that goes from your hand to your foot. And you'll have to pull, as the leg and arm get further, you have to really pull on that elastic because its resistance gets stronger. And then you can imagine it recoiling to bring your arm and leg back up. And then we're going to do the same, the other arm and leg. So small range. But really try your best, please, to imagine that there is a piece of elastic and you're really feeling it. It's really tangible. And then as the range increases, you have to really stretch that bit of elastic. Don't worry, it's firmly secured to your hand and foot. It's not going to ping off. If your imagination is very good, you might worry about that. And use your imagination with the recoil as well, as it draws your hands and legs back. When you've done a few of those, then we're going to wave the arms side to side as we bring them over the head onto the floor. And that takes time because we're moving the scapula, moving the shoulder blades multiple times. If you lift the scapula, move the scapula, lift the scapula, move the scapula, then you can walk the scapula, the shoulder blades out and up. So out from the spine and up towards the head. Then we're going to lower the legs, keeping the lower back close to the floor. Again, there's a sense of study. Keeping your attention close. The legs are coming down, eventually all the way to land. And when they do land, you melt. You bend your elbows and let your legs fall and just really melt. So a big part of yoga is melting. Like the rarefied particle back into the field. There's a story in the Upanishads, which is basically illustrating that everything ultimately is part of the same field that the Upanishads call Brahman, which means to swell or expand. But basically the illustration is that whether a pot is, whether you've got a kettle or a pot or a cup or a saucer or a plate or a figurine, if it's made of clay, it's the same stuff. It's all Brahman. So in the same way, I use my chocolate button metaphor. So melting is reabsorbing of that which we thought was me, separate me, my personality, gets reabsorbed back into the field which it truly belongs to. The sensations that we believe are mine are co-created. They're co-created. Bring your arms forwards when you're ready and bend your legs. And then roll over onto your side. Hopefully you can bring yourself up from your side. You're not too sleepy. And then hold what I call the big toes. Everyone calls them that, I think. Although anatomy books tend to call them the great toe, which I quite like, the great toe. So hold your great toe on both feet and lean back until you get a little massage of the buttocks, and then use the sensation. So yoga's become extremely performative in the last few years, partly because of photography. But so then yoga people make this assumption that doing the pose and getting better at a certain pose, further range, stronger, whatever, is yoga. That's performative. We're not performing the postures. We're using them. So you use a rich sensation. So don't worry about the postures. Most of them have no antiquity whatsoever. It's partly, much as I admire and love him, it's partly B.K.S. Iyengar's fault for making the book The Light on Yoga and doing tours where he would do yoga demonstrations. Look, this is what yoga looks like. And then people were like, oh, I'll try and do that. But that yoga doesn't look like anything. It feels like something. Again, if you want to experiment, if it's absorbing, if it's interesting, you can have the legs bent or straight, or one bent, one straight, or both bent, or whatever. Is it enough? Is there enough sensation? So remember, yoga doesn't even need yoga poses. Most of yoga's history hasn't had yoga poses, really. Although there's usually a few seated poses, and then there are some supported poses even mentioned in the Yoga Sutras. So, but the poses are, the instructions around all poses are the same in the Yoga Sutras. Be relaxed, be happy, be steady. And focus on the infinite. Okay, well done. Super duper. Cross your legs. You can sit on a block for cross legs if you find that useful. Draw the buttock flesh out and back. You can sit on one block, two blocks. If you're on two blocks, you can use a blanket. Buttock flesh drawn out and back. And breathing through your nose if you can, shoulders down. Sometimes a little pull on the shins can be a way of drawing your back forwards, the spine in.
And we don't really want to get overly close up to the three gurus. So the three gurus are like three bears, each with a t-shirt on to make them sort of cuter. One has a t-shirt that says gripping on it, that's its name. The other has a t-shirt that says grabbing, gripping, grabbing. And the other one has a t-shirt that says grasping. So they're the three bears. They're quite cute, but they're still bears. They're still wild bears. And as much as we can love and admire a wild bear from a respectful distance, it's not wise to go right up to them, to jump on one of their backs or, you know. So gripping, grasping, grabbing, we notice them and we even allow them to be cute with their little t-shirts on. But we keep a respectful distance. We don't jump on their backs. So that's our relationship to gripping, grasping, grabbing. Inhaling gently, lifting. Exhaling, right hand on the floor behind you, left hand crosses over both legs. And we twist. Notice if there's a tendency to pull the knee up that your hand is on. That will come in two forms, two possible forms, one of two possible forms. Either that your hand is pulling the knee or that there's gripping in the inner thigh that's pulling the knee up. So these are indicators of gripping. And the problem with gripping is it needs a gripper, that is somebody who's doing it. And the problem with bringing somebody into yoga is then all actions are partisan, they're all biased, they're karmic. They can't respond to the way things actually are because they're blinded by ideals, opinions, memories. So yoga needs, as a sort of foundation, the vrittis to nirod, which means tendencies, habits, patterns to cease. It's not, there isn't really a word to nirod, but it's nirodha, which means non-proliferation. Okay, lift and turn and keep lifting and turning all the way around the other way. We call it side two. And so if gripping, grasping, grabbing arrive, treat them, with all the love. Bears are about as the cuter creature as you can observe. But they're not always acclimatized to humans. They don't always feel safe around humans at all. And so, it's not wise to run up to a wild bear. So similarly with gripping, grasping, grabbing, really give them all the love and respect and kindness that you would a wild creature. But don't get too close. Don't put your hand in its mouth, as it were. Okay, release and return to center. Take your legs wide, generously wide. Although it's not samakonasana, it's not the box splits, which is a pose we do. You can sit on a block as well. The corner would come forward so that would give you more elevation. The buttock flesh should definitely be drawn out and back. The fingertips should be on the floor, and the breathing should be through the nose. If you've got a purple block, I think you'd be more comfortable with the purple one. I think, much as I admire your stoicism. And then have another one too. So that put two one on top of the other in the corner facing forward. Yeah. Take your hands like that, bit like a bear. And then grab a pot of honey and pour it down your throat. No, don't. Bring your hands behind you. Fingertips on the floor. Roll your shoulders, shoulder blades down your back and lift your chest up. You might repeat that a couple of times to get that feeling like the shoulder blades down, the chest up, and then the tummy's toned. And then that gives you a little stretch on the psoas. Try not to waste letters today. So, breathing easy. And jaw soft. So we're looking for lightness that's breath-centered, that's loving, that's surrendered, that's light. And lift and turn towards your right foot. Have a look at your right tootsies, toes. But feel energy releasing through your back leg, your left leg. So you look at your toes on one foot, but you feel energy release in your back leg. And then lift and turn similarly, and feel energy releasing. So that energy will release at the same time as the breath releasing through your back leg. At the same time as your mind releasing. Okay, return to center. Darn it, this time's running away. Take yourself one brick block. You can do this with the purple blocks, which are a bit softer if you want, but you take the short end to point forwards of the purple blocks. We're going to come into Siddhasana. Again, try not to waste any letters by aspirating the da, Siddhasana. In Sanskrit, there are several das. There are dental das and retroflex das. And there are aspirated and non-aspirated das. And there are voiced and unvoiced. Oh no, there aren't. No, forget that last category. Anyway, there's several das. And this is Siddhasana. And when you sit in Siddhasana, then sit up tall, relax if you want. Relax if you want. Imagine right now everything's okay. Because right now everything's okay, isn't it? You know, right here and now, I mean. We can create thoughts about things that are not okay. But right now, it's okay, isn't it? We're going to send 3 bija mantras through the central channel, which we imagine anteriorly to the spinal column. Those bija mantras are Hong. And the most important thing is to visualize and feel the mantra moving up through the central channel, eventually coming up through the blockages in the forehead center and up through the crown of the head. So 3, but it won't work without you engaging with it and really trying to make it happen, make it feel like it's moving. Take a deep breath for the first. Ho. And another one when you're ready. Ho.
the last one. Om. And then deep breaths at the end. So if you feel uncentered at any time, find a place you can do 20, 30 of those. Just do it. If you need that today, find somewhere you can just nip off and hum for a bit. Just like people go off for a cigarette break, you can go off for a hum break. Okay, we're going to come down to laying on our backs. Now for our final pose, currently I'm 1 minute over time, but let's come into corpse pose. And always worth practicing corpse pose. It's the ultimate surrender of the chocolate button back into chocolateness. So a chocolate button is always chocolate, isn't it? But sometimes it identifies itself as disc. It's like, no, I'm a button. I'm different to other chocolate because I'm a button. Perhaps it looks down at other chocolate. You're not a button. I'm not going to hang out with you. But life is like the sunshine. It's always shining, metaphorically. Life is always lifing. And that's like the sun would be on a chocolate button. And even if that chocolate button tries its hardest to hold itself as a disc, I'm not just chocolate, I'm a disc. That shining sun eventually means that it releases, and much to its delight. All that struggle, all those years of struggling to stay as a disc, to stay as a button. So the chocolate represents thoughts, ideas, memories, opinions, volitional behaviors, conditioned tendencies. You know, the personal, ever-changing personal makeup of what makes what we call a personality. The personalities are changing. You don't have the same personality you had when you were 5, or when you were 10, or when you were 15, luckily, or when you were 25, or whatever. So personality is just a rolling event that ultimately is interdependent with everything around it. Everything around it, everything within it. You let go a little, there's a little peace. You let go a lot, it's a lot of peace. if you let go totally. Particle resolves into the feet. Wiggle your toes and your fingers and take little stretches of any kind that you find advantageous. And when you're ready, you can bend your legs and place the soles of the feet onto the floor. And roll onto your side, facing away from the shrine side of the room. Comfortable, I hope, with knees drawn up, tummy soft. Then in your own time, roll towards the shrine side of the room. And bringing yourself up nice and easeful from the side. We'll chant a very simple chant. And even if you've never heard the tune before, you'll be able to do it because the tune is so easy peasy. And the words are, may all be happy, may all be healthy. So 2 H's, may all be happy, may all be healthy. May all see goodness, and may there be no worry. So bring your hands to your heart. And we'll chant that. May all be happy, may all be healthy, may all see goodness, may there be no worry. Take a deep breath in. May all be happy, may all be healthy, may all see goodness, may there be no worries. Now, Om. Om. It's always a bit of an effort to prise myself away from the shrine after those chantings. Thank you very much for your time, roomers and zoomers and baby boomers and anyone spreading rumors. Thanks very much for coming. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. I appreciate you. Love you all. See you real soon. Peace.